It's 6 o'clock, so we're going to call the return to open session from the meeting. We came out of closed session. My name is Dr. Doug Knight. I'm the chair of the Iredell-Statesville Board of Education, and this is our February 10th meeting, 2025. So based on the agenda that we had already approved, we're going to just go through the agenda. We'll go over a moment of silence, and then we'll do the pledge and the presentation of colors. So moment of silence, please. All right, thank you. Next, we have the colors have been presented, so we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. So under the consent agenda, we have the personnel report that involves the work that Dr. LeVar Mazel does, and we talk about that in closed session. Based on state law, it's hard for us to say specificities in open session, but we do have to accept it in open session. And we also have approval of minutes from January 6th, 2025, Committee of the Whole, January 13th, 2025, Board of Education meeting minutes, and January 27th, 2025, we had our called meeting. That was the end of the year data review meeting, and we have minutes for that. And board members, you had that in your electronic packet through Assembly from, any questions, comments on that? Normally this, since it's on the consent agenda, we just do it's considered, as it says in the meeting, it's considered routine and non-controversial, and we're going to approve all these in one motion. Do I have any comments on the personnel and minutes for the consent, before we ask for a consent on all?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Do we have a second? Second. We have a second by Rhonda Hoke. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those that agree with the motion to approve the consent agenda say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? 6-0 is the vote. Okay. Next, we'll go into the recognitions. Now, we had a couple we've had to take off for various reasons. First on the list is recognition of a West Iredell High School student that was accepted to West Point. That's pretty darn cool. So, Miss Kelly Cooper. That's pretty cool.
Chairman Knight, Vice Chairman Trent, and members of the board, Dr. James. We have a special recognition tonight, and I would love for Mr. Johnson to introduce his student to you. We're very excited.
Good evening. So there's a lot about this young man, but I wanted to have a scope and sequence of some of his accomplishments. We're proud to recognize Andrew McCarthy, a senior at West Iredell High School, for his exceptional accomplishments and dedication. Currently, he's serving as a battalion commander of the ROTC program at West Iredell High School. Not only the battalion commander, but he was, one of his achievements is he's an Eagle Scout, he's an athlete, varsity soccer player, student body president, and he just received his appointment to West Point, and he is a fifth in West Iredell's history, 50 years. So I just want to recognize him, and we want to recognize him at this ceremony. So congratulations, sir. Thank you. I appreciate everything, and he makes me a proud principal. So right here, what you have is his actual appointment that he received. So he wanted to exhibit that to you and let y'all take advantage of it. So anyway, just we're just beyond proud, and we continue to turn out excellence at West Iredell High School. So Thank you very much. Just so you know, First Sergeant Klein couldn't make it because they have some students that are competing in a regional competition tonight, so.
Still gotta say, go Navy, beat Army. Yeah, I was about to say, I knew that Mr. Kubanek had graduated in the Naval Academy, and I really hate that he couldn't get into an actual service academy, but it's still a great accomplishment. It's.
I have for you one of my submarine friends. So there is something very unique about a service academy. You can go 4 years at Army and then decide to get commissioned in the Air Force or some other service like the Navy. So you can still go submarines after your West Point.
All right, well, I appreciate this. I thank you. I thank the school board for recognizing me today, and one day we'll beat you. I mean, we have a better football team, but one day we'll actually beat you.
I love it. Mr. Johnson, we will live by the spear. We will live by the spear. You know that. Go Warriors. All right. Next on the agenda, we have a recognition of North Iredell High School cattle working contest. I just love the excellence.
Good evening, Chairman Knight, members of the board, Dr. James. Thank you again for the opportunity to recognize some of our outstanding CT students at North Iredell High School. I'd like to invite up ag teacher, Mr. Bill Walker, to come up to call his students up for recognition at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Woody. Members of the board, as always, it is a pleasure to come and brag about the wonderful things, go on up there, guys, that we are doing at North Iredell High School. So the cattle working contest is one of the unique things that we get to participate in where we can take multiple teams. So we were actually able to take 3 teams, and of those 3 teams, 2 qualified to go to the state contest, which will be in May at the Upper Mountain Research Station in Laurel Springs. So what these team members have to do is they have to identify feeds, breeds of cattle, equipment associated with cattle, take a knowledge test, pass the beef quality assurance test, which is a consumer-based program that ensures the animals are treated humanely. They have to actually work animals and administer shots and dewormer and oral medications and various things like that. So it's a really good way for them to put what they learn in our classes into action. So very proud of Chase Dobson and his team of Hunter Sipe and Wyatt Klein. They finished first in the region. And Garrett Reniger and Garrett Mays and Jacob Sipe finished third in the region. And so both of those teams will be competing at the state contest in May. And Chase, would you like to say anything about what the cattle working contest means to you as a cattle farmer?
Well, it ensures that, like Bill stated, that the animals are treated good. And it helps kind of show an image of what agriculture is today and how it's advanced in animal treatment and everything like that. It also helps show overall knowledge based on equipment, breeds. Like you said, I personally have a cattle farm, and I still struggle. There's so many breeds out there, and helps you develop skills in that. And I just one of my favorite CDs. It's really interactive. I think it's the most interactive one. And
Once again, congratulations to these folks. The other team members couldn't be here. We got a crowd of folks sick at North Iredell, so they're fighting some illnesses. But thank you to these guys.
And Mr. Woody, you also have next on the agenda the recognition of North Iredell High School FFA Veterinary Science CDE. And what's interesting, there for a while I wanted to be a veterinarian and
Well-
worked for a vet for about 2.5, 3 years and did farm calls and then realized it wasn't for me.
See?
And
That's
it's-
what we do in CT.
And that's what you do. And
You do and what's not for you.
you
That's
figure things out like that. Yes, sir.
That's exactly right. So at this time, thank you again for honoring, let us have a time to recognize some of our outstanding CT students. Again, at North Iredell High School, I'd like to invite Ms. Lauren Irby, ag teacher, to recognize her students.
All right, good evening. On December 7th, the North Iredell FFA Veterinary Science team competed in Sanford, North Carolina. During our contest, these ladies and one additional team member were asked to take a knowledge exam to determine their understanding of veterinary medicine, complete medical math calculations to determine medical dosage and clinic expenses, identify common medical equipment, small animal breeds, and common parasites that we find in animals, and then perform both a clinical procedure and an animal handling and restraint lab. So these ladies competed with over 50 teams. They finished first in the Northwest region, and they also finished 13th in the state. So we are very proud of these ladies. So we have Taylor Knox, Addison Lentz, and Lillian Pope. So please help us congratulate these ladies on a job well done.
Thank you, Mr. Woody. Next, we have on the school spotlight this month, is Shepherd Elementary.
Good evening, Dr. James and Dr. Knight and members of the Board of Education and our community members that are here. I'm Kim Mitchell, and I'm principal at Shepherd Elementary. I've been there for 8 years, and then this is Kinsley Dalton. If anybody knows, he is brand new to Shepherd and brand new to administration, so he's our assistant principal at Shepherd and came to share the experience with us this evening. So we are representing Shepherd Elementary, of course, and when we were asked to put it into a presentation, it is hard to put how awesome our school is into a PowerPoint. So we hope you enjoy the pictures, that when you look at them, it gives you a feel of what our school is like and also the words that we have to say and convey about our school. We are very, very proud of our school. We think one of the best things when you walk into our school, you can feel the outstanding climate and culture and the high expectations that we have of ourselves and of our students. So we're going to start with We Shine Brighter Together, and that definitely is a motto for our school. We work very, very hard to work together for the success of our students. Okay. Where do I point? There we go. All right. So just a little bit about us. So we are the home of the Mighty Eagles. We are proud to be a community school and our strong community relationships. In fact, we average 97% every working condition or climate survey, where parents and community rates us an A or a B school. We're at 1748 Charlotte Highway. In case you don't know, I would try to avoid that area unless you have a reason, because it's always a mess. We average 740 or more students any given day. It depends on the week. We tip up towards about 750 and down to 740. When I started at Shepherd 8 years ago, we were 400. I used to pride myself in knowing almost every single child's name. Can't do that anymore, but between Mr. Dalton and I, we're pretty good with our 740-some kids. We have 96 staff members, 40 regular education classrooms, 2 autistic classrooms. We have 3 specialized teachers, resource and ESL, 5 enhancement teachers, a media specialist. We serve grades K through 5, 2 after-school programs, Prime Time and Boys and Girls Club, and our feeder schools are Lakeshore Middle, Troutman Middle, the Brawley School, and South Iredell High. Also, I didn't put in there, but we are as well a Title I school. So we got a lot going on at Shepherd. There we go. All right, first and foremost, safety is a non-negotiable at our school. We live that talk. We practice our drills. Our SRO, he's fantastic. He's very involved. You'll see him out and about all the time. He's doing security checks. He keeps us posted and alert of anything we need to. He's engaged with all our drills. In fact, he goes into the classroom. We do our safety drills. Of course, law requires us to do a fire drill every month, but we also do tornado drills about 3 times a year, and then we do lockdown drills, at least, we do a full lockdown drill about once a quarter. He will go in and do mini lockdown drills with the classrooms. If we don't do one with the whole school one quarter, he'll go in and make sure that the children know what to do. So we are always thinking safety first. We think of our policies and procedures to make sure, first and foremost, that everybody is safe. And that includes the traffic out front and unloading all these kids every morning and all our buses that we have. All right, and we also, like I said, we pride ourselves on our strong bonds with our community and with our students. We take that very seriously. We know the success of our school also depends on our relationships with our students. So you can see some of the things we do here. We have academic nights and strategy nights for our parents. We invite people in to read to our books, or read to our students, or to do certain presentations. We're involved also with the fire department. And then you can see we also have community events. We had a trunk or treat. We do bingo for books. We do Winterfest. So we try to do at least one thing every corner. And there are enormous events, as you can see. We have a great big turnout, and our community loves that. We believe in doing that to make sure that we stay bonded and connected with our community. Our kids love it too. These are some of our instructional non-negotiables. We feel like we have very high expectations. We utilize the district resources and expectations with fidelity. Rigor and depth of knowledge are also our priorities. Every week in PLCs, we work on looking at our curriculum, unpacking it. We talk about in PLCs, what does that mean? We make sure everybody has a common understanding. We have a lot of, as you saw, we have a lot of teachers, so we have to make sure that we share the wisdom of people that have been doing this for a while with our beginning teachers. We don't have, we have probably about 10 beginning teachers, I think, from the range of first year to third year. So we have what I like to refer to as our baby teachers, and we say that affectionately, but we like to make sure that they're very much aware of what they need to be teaching, what it looks like, and how to go about teaching it, best practices. We talk about the delivery effectiveness and planning. We evaluate and assess ourselves. We are big on reflecting, and so we do data review in our PLCs, and we also adhere to our master's schedule, as well as we focus on academic, soft skills, and the whole child, our focuses. So we try to hit it all. We know students need to learn to be leaders. They also need to learn skills, how to work in their environment with other people, and we focus on all those as well as our academics. It's also, Shepherd is also a place where children thrive. Again, we believe in the whole child. So you see, we do have a picture of the kids outside. That ability to play together, have social skills, but then also our academics are very important to us. We focus a lot on students collaborating. That's a 21st century skill. We're trying to build little think tanks. We all know that we're smarter to get better together. If we get together, we can come up with better learning, better understanding, and better solutions. And so our kids are social learners, and so you can see a lot of the things that we're doing. I've got pictures here to show some of the activities that they do. We do a lot of hands-on activities. We focus on the engagement of what our students are doing. And you can see that they actually are working together. I taught 20 years before going into admin. I've been an admin for 18 years. And I know for a fact, just because of what I have taught, when children have an opportunity to communicate and reflect off each other, they have even higher learning. So I think most of us are that way. So we try to make sure that we afford these opportunities to our students in our classroom. And there's some more pictures where you see, we're very proud of our kids. We love our kids. We think we have smart kids. We're very proud of them. So we really like to show them here. But you can see where they're truly engaged. And this is really, like I said, we try really, really hard to bring as many of these kinds of activities and rigor into our classrooms every single day, every single teacher. All right, we also focus on being kind. We really work on, not only is academics important, being able to get along is also important. That's part of that whole collaboration piece. So they get that while they're collaborating to learn how to talk to each other, be respectful. I can listen to you, but but you need to be able to listen to me, and we can do it, and we can agree to disagree. Those are the kind of skills they need for life skills. But we do focus on on being kind. You walk in our front door, you will see the sign, and when we have children that we recognize for being kind, we like to put them in front of this painting here, and they become the I, and it's be the I in kind. Mr. Dalton has implemented a program recently also to take and recognize our students, and we like to catch them doing things great and recognize them for that. So we spend a lot of time on those kinds of things. Like I said, the social skills and also leadership skills, building confidence in children. There we go. Oh, I went 1, 2. I got to go back 1, sorry. I got click happy. All right, so one of the things that we work on every week in PLCs, we work on during our PD time. When Kinsley and I do evaluations, we talk about these things all the time with our teachers to help them grow, to coach them, and we work very, very hard to have engaging methods and strategies. So you can see some of the things they do here. The kids enjoy it. There's a group of our first grade teachers, and they're collaborating and planning together. Of course, they're posing. They're looking at everybody, smiling. But it's okay because they work really, really hard, and they do a great job. But we do focus every week. This is what we do. What can we do to make learning engaging for our kids? We know the more engaged they are, the better they learn. So we work very hard to bring these kinds of activities and strategies into our classrooms. Kids kind of like them too. Here's some more. Of course, they're always very proud of what they do. And of course, we focus on being a good U.S. citizen too. Every day we start with a brain teaser. Our kids enjoy that. It's a way to bond. We do it right after the Pledge of Allegiance. They get to write their little brain teasers, submit them, and then we read them out loud. The whole school participates. They have fun. So this makes us, this is just a little bit unique to Shepherd, but the kids really enjoy that. So they come up with some pretty good ones, and they have a lot of fun seeing if they can figure it out. We truly, truly believe every child matters. Doesn't matter backgrounds. It doesn't matter where you're at academically. It doesn't matter what race or religion or anything. We truly believe every single child matters. When they come through our door, we want to make sure that we treat them as if they're our own. We want to make sure that they're healthy, they're happy, they're safe, and that they're growing and learning. So that's very important to us. And I truly believe every staff member on our campus believes that as well. So these are just some more. You can see Mr. Dalton is a big hit when it's time to compete. The kids absolutely love racing Mr. Dalton.
Lost to the second graders that day.
He told them he didn't have his speedy shoes on that day, so yeah. Aging can't have anything to do with that. All right, we also focus on developing leaders, so we work very hard with our counselors. She tries to make opportunities where kids have a chance to develop leadership skills. Of course, they come with criteria. They know they have to meet that criteria. They have to work hard, so they continue to meet that criteria throughout the year. And these are just different things. We have the safety patrol. We have where this little group of girls, they were training kindergartners how to do different things. And we're going to soon be creating a student council. Our counselor, like I said, she rolls out lots of good things. And we do know leadership is very, very important as well to children. All right, we also work really hard to help children where they can explore their interests. So we all know, a lot of times when kids get older, the things that keep them in school are usually their interests, or at least keeps them working hard. It helps them stay out of trouble. It helps them get good grades, or focus on getting good grades anyway. But we develop those interests at a young age. We feel like we offer a lot at Shepherd. Of course, we take and participate in all the things that the district has, like Battle of the Books, chess, math expo, all those things. But then we also offer, we have an art teacher she takes, and she has children, she has an art club, and the kids compete in a state art test. And so you can see some of the work there. It's pretty incredible. We did place second in the region, and our one kid took and got first for the media, so we're proud of that. But we also offer offer up different contests. Not anything major other than they might get a little gift card or an extra recess or something, but they have fun doing these things, but it also allows them to explore interest. We have a music teacher. She has a ukulele club, a drum line, and a chorus, and she does performances every year. She actually has to have tryouts because we have so many kids that want to do it, but we can't possibly have that many of them. So lots of opportunities to engage in those things that are extra in addition, and they're after school, they're not during the school day. Most of them anyways, not all. All right, we also believe that fine arts and physical activity matters. Years ago when I went to Shepherd, I told my fine arts and PE staff, I said, I want the best fine arts and PE that we can deliver. I think that's extremely important, just like academics is also very, very important. I feel like this is very important as well. Again, we know creativity is good for kids, and we also know that they need to develop interest. So I think we have an outstanding fine arts and PE. They take it very seriously. They want to be considered just as serious what our regular ed teachers are, that are in the classrooms. They want their curriculum taken just as seriously, and they put a lot of time into planning, making it very engaging for our students. And again, you see Mr. Dalton racing kids, so yeah, they don't ask me to race them. All right, and here's some more. Oh no, that's the same one, I'm sorry. Okay. There we go. We think we have an amazing staff. They take it very, very seriously. They work very, very hard. With a larger school, Title I school, and with us growing, we're constantly seeing change up in students. That means we always got new kids coming into our building, and so we're having to learn them as they come in. And so our teachers are constantly having to adapt. They're having to reflect and change things up to meet the needs of our kids. But we also are very proud that Miss Allison Chunderlich was a District Math Teacher of the Year. We also like to have opportunities for students to give back to the community. The community is very good to us, and we feel like they need the opportunity to be able to give back as well, so they understand what that's about. We supported, Western Carolina when they went through the floods. We also do food drives. We participate in, we do a collection for Jump for Heart, or Heart Healthy now, and also United Way. And our next one that we're going to be participating in is we're raising money for Rainbow Kids, which serves kids that are grieving. And we know not all kids can, but we do different things to give them an opportunity, even if it's bringing in, a nickel or something. It gives everybody that sense of contributing. We create special occasions for our students. This is where they are academically related. However, we like to make them, except you see the trunk or treat. That was after school hours. But we try to make them interesting. Like with the election, our kindergarten teacher was teaching kids how to vote, and so she did special things. They work, like I said, academics and content into the special occasions, but we do like to do that, make memories for our kids. Here's another way we make memories. We recognize every single child's birthday and adults' birthdays on our campus, and they get a cookie. Our PTO pays for that. And then we like to say that our staff we have fun teaching and celebrating our school successes. So again, it gives us that sense of community, and actually our staff will tell you we're a family, which makes us very proud to hear them say that. But they keep it interesting for the kids and engaging for the kids. Will that video play or not? This is some Leadership Plus, so there was a bunch of us. If it doesn't play, it's okay, but when we hit a goal, then we do silly things, and so this was one of the things. Our kids love it. I promise it's about done. All right, there we go. Okay, thank you. And so when we meet goals, we dance through the hallway. It's corny. We know it's corny, but they love it. The kids absolutely love it. We dance through the parking lot, and it just, like I said, it makes the kids, it brings memories, but it also brings a sense of community. So, yeah, I was the rooster, so.
I was the eagle.
Yeah, he was the eagle. No lie, we have fun too.
I couldn't get the pants up.
All right, so we're very proud of them. Our children set goals, and they talk about their goals, they monitor their goals, and they also, they monitor their progress, but they also talk about why they think they have had success, or if they're not growing, you know, where they need to, or if they got a little bit of a gap area, they sit and talk to their teachers about that, and they have little monthly conversations, 3 minutes with their teachers about every 5 weeks when we do a data drop. So our teachers love it when we do their post-observations, so we relate it to them. They like that feedback. The kids like that feedback too. So we've been very, very diligent about that. Like I said, the kids love that one-on-one time with their teachers. 3 minutes is all it is. We have veteran teachers, and they mentor our excited new teachers. We think we've got some fantastic new teachers, but we also got an outstanding group of veterans as well. And they take that job very seriously. They bring them on like they were their own kids to help them grow. It makes us very proud. Oh, it did it again. I'm sorry. Can you back me up? We're almost done, I promise. I don't care what anybody says. Cleanliness and aesthetics is important. I think when people walk into your building, they like to see warmed, they like to see welcome, they like to feel that. And like I said, when you walk into our building, there's our front, that's our front. When you walk in there, you feel the kindness, you feel the sincerity of, you know, what kind of help do you need? And then when you walk through the school, people say hello to you. We hear that all the time from our community, and that makes us really proud. You can see everything is kept very clean. We, up until just last week, our third custodian started. So we have 3 custodians. They work super, super hard. 2 of them drive the bus. So it's, you know, not even really 3 full custodians. And you can see how beautiful they make that. But the kids also pitch in. They, you know, they'll make sure they pick up their trash. They throw things in the waste can. They might sweep a little bit. And then we are always looking for ways to beautify our school. That's not very expensive. And then also displaying the kids' work. Parents love to see that. And the last thing, so even though, like I said, we have struggles, and I feel like in the 18 years I've been an admin, it's not an easy job. I don't care what anybody says. It's not an easy job to hit every single thing, and boy, do we work hard. But it's like the game. Some of you may not, if they're young, they may not know what we're talking about, but some of you, I do know, you know what I'm talking about. At the carnival where you're always popping and the little weasel pops up his head, you're forever trying to do that. It's nonstop all year, every year. It's like, okay, what's going to be our gap area? So we are proud of the fact that we did raise our overall proficiency, not 4%, but 4% points. So we're very proud of that. We met growth in overall math. That's always been our Achilles tendon. And so we were very, very thrilled that we have overall math, that we met growth. And then 3rd, 4th, and 5th grades reading met growth as well. So we're very, very proud of that. We feel like we're doing great things, and we just got to there's one more thing here, and we keep trying to figure it out. That's what our mid-year data, we went ahead and posted it. We don't hide anything. We're very transparent. We're very, you know, like I said, we're looking always to improve. That's what we do, is we try to improve all the time. So that's us. Anybody got any questions? Kenzie?
Board member, questions, comments?
All right.
Ms. Kern, go ahead.
I just want to say thank you for the good work that you're doing, and we appreciate you, the teachers and the staff there at Shepherd Elementary, especially the traffic challenges that you face.
I think we're through the storm, but we're good, so thank you.
Yeah. So we just did the Parkertown Elementary planning, and hopefully we can siphon off some of those students and get you back to normal.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Yep, thank you.
I just wonder, are you going to start streaming the chicken dances and the
Hey, we're not
live
above
streaming?
it.
Okay.
We're not above it. And we'll do it for a fundraiser too. If you know, people want to throw quarters at us, we'll take it. So, yeah, absolutely. We're not above it.
That's
we
just-
do it for our kids.
The kids love that stuff like that.
They do. They really do. Thank you.
They love goofiness. Thank you so much. Thank you for the good work.
Thank you.
All right, so next on the agenda, we're going to our non-consent agenda. This is Mr. Shinkirik, approval of the new gym floor at Statesville High School. Mr. Shinkirik, the floor is yours.
All right, good evening, Dr. Knight, Dr. James, members of the board. I'm here to present some bids that we just received recently to do a new gym floor at Statesville High School. Really excited about this. The floor is estimated to be over 30 years old, if approved. This work would take place in the summer, with about 6 to 8 weeks to complete, just in time for volleyball season to start in the next school year. We received 3 bids, with the low bid with Southern Flooring in an amount of $210,000. And I have in your notes there some details about the scope of work that would be done there. We had 2 additional items in there that we were considering as alternates, but ultimately deciding to go with the lower bid there of $210,000. Southern Flooring is a company that we've used in the past, and it's our recommendation that we move forward with that bid. I'll take any questions.
So, board members, any questions for Mr. Shinkarik? Mr. Kubnik, go ahead.
You were doing some repairs to the ceiling, correct, in the gym? Because it was, falling apart, essentially?
Yes.
So
yes.
can you give us an update on that? Obviously, hopefully you're done, right?
Yes, that work is all completed, and it seems to be working as intended there. We haven't had any more issues with that. It's actually brightened up the gym there. I think this new floor in there with that ceiling piece will be a great addition.
Okay. Mr. Kubnik, are you finished? Any other questions, comments? Mr. Shinkarik, Ms. Kern?
Oh, I just was going to make the motion that we approve this.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a second. Let me get the motion out there. The new gym floor at Statesville High School. And we have a second to approve the new gym floor at Statesville High School. Do any board members want to speak in yay or nay for the motion? Okay. Seeing no comments, I'll call for a vote. So all board members that agree with the motion that we approve the new gym floor at Statesville High School per Mr. Shinkarik's recommendation, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? It is 6-0. Miss Kelly? So that is all for our agenda. Now, Mr. Shinkarik, next on the agenda, mark that off, is the approval of easement at Lake Norman High School. We discussed this since it's property. We discussed some of this internally in closed session, and we had discussed what we wanted to do then, so I think I will ask for a motion.
Mr. Knight, I make a motion that we table this for the next session.
Okay. Is table the right term or postpone? I think table has.
Well, I'll amend and postpone, yes.
Fine. So there's been a motion to postpone this till the next board meeting, and we get some more information from Mr. Shinkarik then. Do we have a second? We have a second from Mr. Hoke. Any discussion about the approval, about the motion to postpone the approval of easement at Lake Norman High School? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those that agree with the motion to postpone till next meeting, the approval of easement at Lake Norman High School, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? No opposed, so 6-0. Ms. Kelly? Okay. Let me mark this off. All right, so next on the agenda, let me pull this up here. We have proposed 2025-26 Board of Education meeting dates. So we have Dr. James and I, so it says here, the board will discuss the 2025-2026 meeting schedule. The board has been given 3 options, so we want to discuss this at the meeting. Of the 3 options, if you'll notice in the options, board members, it's a little different than what we've run previously. Dr. James and I have, in our discussions about meetings, from our perspective, some of the Cal meetings, I don't know how productive they were compared to, we can fold some of what we do into the Cal into the regular board meeting. So I asked to maybe run maybe a little bit more efficiently, might be a good way of saying it. So we have 3 options. We have option 1, 2, and 3 in your packet. Option 2, as you can see, is one less meeting, but it does include a July meeting. Option 3, in July, we tend not to have a lot of things on the agenda, and so there's no scheduled meeting there. Also, you notice the frequency of the CAL meetings. CAL meetings, Committee of the Whole, was originally, from my understanding, given as a way to, because meetings were taking a long time, we want to get some discussion in, and then we come back at the regular meeting, and we could take care of things at the regular meeting and not have them go on all night long, like the old Lionel Richie song. So, so you have those in front of you. Any board members want to make some initial discussion on this? Mr. Angel?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I just wanted to hear more from maybe Dr. James around if there's any preference for these options for your team, the executive cabinet for the district.
Yes, we would like option 2, and please always keep in mind, we can always do a called board meeting, and I know that one of the things the board has asked for several times, and we will make it happen to start doing a mid-year review, so we can have some additional called meetings. It's less formal. It is called, so of course it's not discussion from the general public. It's time to allow the board to ask some questions and go a little bit more in detail. The end of year seems to be like drinking from a fire hose. So our hopes are to definitely provide the board much more opportunity to work with some of our schools that are at risk and ask deeper questions and get a little bit more involved. So I think that's been the adamant of the board. So this works with the work. So you sort of set the schedule off the work that we bring to you. And that's the purpose of having the committee of the whole. If we have a lot of policies going on, and I will say that Kelly and I have worked probably 3 or 4 years on getting our policy manual up to date. And we had a lot of policies that were lagging behind prior to the current administration in central office. So we have done a great job of trying to get those up and going as quickly as possible. So I think we're up to speed. A lot of the work done prior was a plethora of policies because we were behind.
And if I can add to that, one of the, I want to apologize. I did not mention that we can have a called, if something comes up, we have a lot on the agenda, we can do a called committee the whole meeting as needed, as long as we put it out the correct number of days ahead of time. We can do that as needed. I'm perfectly okay with that if it looks like the agenda is going to be filled up. The other thing is, I had actually talked to Ms. Kelly about, 6 months ago or so, about maybe looking into having it like a yearly calendar, so we know what comes up when. And I think in the process of doing that, you notice there's times when we have a whole lot come on the agenda, and there tends to be times that not a lot comes up on the agenda. So that was also part of the genesis for having meetings kind of change, not always having committee of the whole meetings. Okay.
And Dr. Knight, I would, again, I think the sentiments of the entire board, if there are a lot of things coming up, I think it would behoove us to have a called meeting, less formal, and then have a period of time that the board definitely can ask questions. We can then hopefully determine what we need to bring back the next time. I know anytime we present data, there's questions. We do have some schools that meet the low-performing criteria for the state. So there has been some questions about that. We are going to do a special called meeting in the future, so we'll have those schools available, so the board will have the opportunity to get a little bit further in depth and also get to talk to the staff about the improvement plans and what we do to close that gap. So we're already working on data for that. And I actually think it would be, even for the community that would attend, sort of eye-opening on some of the things that we work with. Every school we got actually makes growth, but we all know it's where you start at is what matters. So we already have some very interesting data to talk about.
Okay. So Mr. Angel, Ms. Kern?
Chairman Knight, I was just curious why there was 3 choices, not 2. It also seems like option 3 has the same number of meetings as option 2, because the first line says no scheduled meeting. So I was just curious to know why we have 3 as opposed to ruling out to just 2.
Yeah, if you look, it's the difference in the when you have CAL meetings and when you don't. With option one, you've got CAL meetings, say in August, October, then you have a gap till January. On option three, you have it in, not one in August, but you have one in September, November, and then back to January. So it's really when you would be having the CAL meetings that look, because the board meetings, as long as we have one, are pretty much fixed. It's the number of CAL meetings and the months that you have the CAL meetings that would be the change. And traditionally, since I've been on the board, and we've honestly, with Mr. Kelly leaving, we lost, and Mr. Howell leaving, we lost a lot of institutional knowledge on what happened previously. But from my time that I've been on here and the 4 years I was on here, we tended with options to get 4, if I'm not correct, Dr. James? We
Yes,
tended
so
to get
if you look
3
at
options.
option 3, it's July's the first. You really no use to have a meeting in July because that's typically when, we typically do not take vacation when kids are in school. So we take hours during breaks or July. So not a lot of people around in July, and there's not any data coming in. And so we tried to set the CAL meetings based on when the state puts out data. And that's our best guess. And I know that several of us have talked about having a calendared event. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes we get data from the state in October, sometimes we get it in November, and we cannot talk about the data until the state board actually convenes, votes on the data, and then releases it. So we do have preliminary data, but, we're told not to share any of that data out until the actual state board approves it, because there has been a time when scale scores are changed. So the other thing for the public and the board, it's sort of like that game when you have a rabbit run across and you got to shoot at it. It's not stationary. So our scale scores are looked at every year. They're dynamic. So what you earned on English language this year may not be sufficient enough to pass the test next year.
So you're saying the A can change from a 10-point to a 7-point to a 12-point grading scale mid-year?
Renorm. So some of the data I did share with the board, as a nation, of course, those of you have your opinion about Common Core, I'm sure. As a nation, as a whole, for years, we were in the 60-70% range as a nation before Common Core on our testing nationwide, and that was for math and ELA. Common Core went into effect. The nation as a whole dropped down to 28%. So you can see the huge shift in the criteria we're using to assess kids. And if you look at the data again, I did present some of these graphs to the board, and I'll be glad to send them out again. But if you look at that, about the time we start climbing in math scores, we renorm the test. And it says from the state, renorming the test. When they renorm the test, that means we're making it harder. So anytime you start seeing growth, there seems to be a renorm. It does happen every 5 years, whether there's at the latest, but now we're seeing it sometimes every 3 years. So just educating the public on the current system we use to grade kids, I think, is always beneficial. And our hopes are to see a little bit of wiggle room in that model. We're one of just a few states left that uses the 80-20. There's an A to F grading model. Florida actually used it. They still have it, but it's different. If you look at it, there's about 8 metrics they score schools on. So their D's and F schools went way down once they moved to the new system. And I'd be honest with you, just looking at it, it's a lot of thought and effort been put into it. It'd be nice if our state would adopt it, since we did follow Florida originally when Florida went to 80-20. But a lot of things we can learn. And again, just from the board, I think the comment I've heard, don't disagree. There's times that we'd like to be able to discuss things deeper, go a little bit further into the weeds, learn what we're doing, and we're definitely able to bring staff in, explain the process we go through, the curriculum and the training that we receive, and what we're required to do from the state. So I think educating our board and whatever public shows up would be great. And I think we're trying to do that, hopefully, in different venues.
So, Ms. Kern, do you have any more questions? Okay, thank you. Questions, comments, anyone else?
Chairman.
Mr. Kubinick, go ahead.
Yes, sir. With all due respect, I think we're going in the wrong direction. And what I mean is, I think in the last 2 years, we had like 20 or 21 meetings in a year, and now it's being suggested to go to 16. Now, we all have a lot of work to do. There's a lot of work to do. And we've seen some meetings go very long, and certainly I love the recognitions we do, and we've had recognitions go 2.5 hours. And if we had COW meetings, and I would actually propose that we spread out recognitions over even the COW meetings, so we can get more students recognized and then lessen the amount of time that the public has to wait for public comment. But I would say that you made, a couple comments were made, certainly a loss of institutional knowledge, and we would like to go deeper on topics. And I think both of those comments really lead to having more meetings. And I'm not suggesting to have meetings just to have meetings, but I'm suggesting that if we want to be able to dive deeper into the topics and we want to be able to fully explore all the challenges we face, going to lesser meetings is not the way to go. Final comment would be is if we go to lesser meetings and then we're going to have this called meeting option, that makes it very unpredictable for everyone's schedules. So if we have the meetings in the schedule, I'd rather have, I'm okay with July. I think July, everybody needs a break. But let's just say we had 22, 23 meetings on the schedule, and then if it came to be we canceled the meeting or deleted the meeting because of there isn't enough to discuss. Fine, then we take it off the schedule, but we've planned our lives around having the meeting. So I think going from 20 or 21 meetings we've been having a year to 16 is not the way to go. So that's my opinion.
Any other comments, questions, anyone else? Ms. Trent?
I don't have any comment or question. I just would like to make the motion that we approve option 2 for the Board of Education upcoming meeting dates.
So we do have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second? We have a second by Mr. Angel. So we'll open it up. Since we do have a motion, we'll open it normally. We'll try to do yays and nays back and forth if it seems like there may be some differences of opinion here. Ms. Trent, do you want to make any comments for a yay? Okay, so anyone else want to make comments in terms of a yay?
Yeah, I'll just provide my
Yes, sir.
I'll
Go ahead.
provide my rationales. I took from the superintendent's comments to mean that we have a different strategy for ensuring that we tend appropriately to the governance of the board with called meetings with more focus. I also think it would be important for this board to force itself to be concise and to communicate, clearly as we move forward in the best ways possible. Having a shorter schedule might help take us down that pathway, is a conviction of mine. I do agree with Mr. Kubinik that there's a concern around scheduling. So we really have to commit as a board to, if there are called meetings, that we attend those meetings, and if that's a part of our structure, if this motion does get approved. So those are my rationales.
Chairman Knight?
Yes, sir.
So I think you're going to bring it up tonight, but one of the things the board has brought up, several board members, is possibly establishing some committees. So I've been asked by the board. I've worked in districts where it's all committee-based, and I've worked in districts where it's committee of the whole, and there's pros and cons both sides. But I do know tonight that you were going to talk about starting to establish at least the first committee. So I think if we're going to go down that road, it will help at least have some further conversation. I do recall in my districts that the district use committees, that there was much richer conversation and questions asked because it's a small group. So, and that's fine. Our staff, me, typically would be at every one of those. Board chair can sit in, but it does provide the opportunity for the board members that are on that committee to get a lot more information. But then when you come back to the board, of course, the board has to trust your judgment on, because if a committee does it, you only need one vote on the board to have 4 for a quorum. So, again, I think you're planning on moving in that direction, so that may offset some of the concerns.
Anyone want to speak in terms, that was, I guess you could say, in terms of a yay? Does anyone else want to speak in terms of a nay? Go ahead, Ms. Kern.
Mr. Chairman, I couldn't hear what the motion was, which option was motioned.
Okay, the motion was for option 2. The motion was made for option 2.
Okay. So I'll speak in against it. Just a prime example was when we had the CAL meeting and we talked about the restart applications. That was an opportunity to do a deep dive into the discussion of our restart schools and some of our challenges, yet the opportunity was a missed one because we really didn't do a deep dive and talk about it. So that's why I oppose actually all 3 of the options, so I'll be voting nay, but I mean, I oppose all 3 of these because we are going from, 2021 meetings a year to 16, and I don't think that's sufficient.
Okay, so you want to make a motion for, want to make comments for the yay? We're trying to go back and forth, that's what I'm trying to do. Okay, I'm not going to speak on this, but go ahead. So we have another one for the nay, Ms. Kern.
I just want to throw out that option 3 would allow the administration and staff to have more flexibility for vacation time. Having been on the board for 2 years, I know that July is very thin on topics of discussion. They're not in session, and I just think that giving them a nice little break to be able to go and be with their families would be good for option 3.
Okay, anyone else? Any other comments? No other comments? I guess we'll call for a vote since we do have a motion on the floor. So the motion on the floor is to go with option 2. And so before I go to that, Ms. Kern, I want to give you the option, make sure you understand. So are you asking to amend the motion, or are you just commenting to other board members for them to ask to amend the motion? Or are you wanting to amend the motion yourself?
Well, we definitely can have further discussion if other people feel the same
That's what I'm
way
gonna
and
give
want to
them say,
change
but
anything.
I want to make sure that you understand if you want to, you could.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Parliamentary inquiry. So
Sure.
if an amendment was made to swap out 2 with 3, is that in order?
I think that might be best for because that would be a substantive change to the motion.
It sounds to me like it would be in order.
Yeah.
So if it's a motion to amend the current motion that's on the floor to sub out option 2 for option 3, the easiest thing for the board to do is to vote on the motion that's on the floor.
And then if it fails.
Correct.
And Mr. Hoke, is that what you were saying? That's what you were saying. So if there is, so we'll just go that route. So we'll go that route, that's okay. All right? So we have a motion on the floor, and there's been discussion. We'll call for a vote. The motion on the floor is the Iredell-Statesville School Board of Election meetings going forward in 25 and 20. Did I say election? I'm so sorry. Education. In 25, 26, we'll go with option 2. All those for option 2 say aye. Aye. All that opposed?
Nay.
We have 2 nays and 4 yays, so the motion does pass. Okay. Going forward, that is option 2, and we'll go from there. All right, next on the agenda are proposed policy revisions. These are second readings, so we will be voting on them individually as we go through there. And we did make a change. The second and third policies, Dr. James will be doing those as opposed to Mr. Steele. All right, so next up, we have Dr. James for policy 2302.
2302, just for the public's knowledge, back during COVID, there was a change in general statute to allow remote participation and voting because of COVID, since we're out of that nightmare. And moving forward, the state has changed the law back, so you can participate remotely, but you cannot vote. So your vote would not count towards a majority. So what this policy does is take state law and remove the provision for a board member to actually vote while being remote. And actually, that did occur, and it's based on, so state law come along after there was a court case. So the precedent for this is a court case out of Anson County with county commissioners. So that's the reason for this policy, and we've talked about it in depth. Any questions?
Any questions from board members for Dr. James concerning policy 2302, remote participation in board meetings? Yes, sir.
That's correct.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions? And the next one is this a, are we good?
You got to vote.
Okay. So this is a voting matter. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the policy 2302, the remote participation in board meetings.
So we have a motion that we approve the changes in remote participation in board meetings, policy 2302. Do I have a second? We have a second by Mr. Hoke. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those that have in favor of policy 2302, remote participation in board meeting changes per the discussion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Nay? Oops, I'm sorry. There's no nays. No, I can't do it twice. So it's 6-0. Thank you. All right, let's keep going. Next, we have Federal Grant Administration, policy 8305.
So the update with this policy, it revises language to conform with the changes in the uniform guidance, and with some of the board training, you did get a brush of the uniform guidance. It is the federal guidelines for grant procurement, and it's thousands of pages, and I'm not sure anyone knows what all's in it, but there is some language changes that we adhere to, and when we, in our federal grants, most of them are in millions of dollars. As part of our federal grant, you have to have an evaluation group as part of that grant. So when you put out a request for a proposal, it not only includes the grant writing companies, but it includes evaluation, and that evaluation group also is part of the federal requirement for uniform guidance for budgets. So they are constantly communicating with the powers that be in Washington and our grant directors, of course, whomever we hire for that particular grant, has to make sure that everything we spend is in accordance with uniform guidance. And there was a couple legal references that were updated, and that's normal in most policies if there's been court cases, to add to the footnotes, and then other resources that you can reference to look up some of the uniform guidance policies.
Do we have any questions for Dr. James concerning policy 8305, federal grant administration changes? Hearing none, I will ask for a motion, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve policy 8305.
We have a motion on the floor that we approve policy 8305, federal grant administrative changes. Do I have a second? We have a second by Mr. Angel. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I will call for a vote. All those in favor of policy 8305, federal grant administration changes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? We have none. It passes 6-0. Okay. Next up, Dr. James, is policy 9125, participation by minority businesses.
Yes, so this policy is already on the books. It revises the definition of minority business to reflect the change in the state law definition. So this is required by state law. So legislators made a change in minority business definition, and hence we have to change our policy to match state law.
Do we have any questions for Dr. James? Hearing none, I'll call for a motion.
Make a motion that we approve policy 9125.
We have a motion on the floor that we approve policy 9125, pilot participation by minority businesses and the changes thereof. Do I have a second? We have a second by Mr. Hoke. Do we have any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of policy 9125 and the changes that have been discussed, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? We have none. It passes 6-0. Next, Dr. Shayla Savage has policy 4320, tobacco products regarding and students.
Good evening, Dr. Knight, Board of Education, Dr. James. I'm here for a second read for policy 4320, tobacco products students, and it revises the definition of tobacco product to include vape and all the other mechanisms in which tobacco can be inhaled or exhaled.
Do we have any questions by the board for Dr. Savage on this policy and the changes thereof? Hearing none, I'll call for a motion.
I make a motion, we approve policy 4320 with the changes.
We have a motion to approve policy 4320 with changes. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Angel. Do we have any discussion of the policy and the changes? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of policy 4320 and tobacco products for and regarding students and the changes therein, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? None. So it's 6-0, Ms. Kelly, on that. Thank you. And last, Dr. Savage, we have policy 4329/7311, bullying, harassing behavior prohibited, and the floor is yours.
Second read as well for this policy, and it revises principal designee to supervisor or investigator due to some of our buildings not necessarily being school buildings.
Understand. Thank you. Do we have any questions for Dr. Savage concerning this policy and the recommended changes? Hearing none, I'll call for a motion.
I make a motion that we accept policy 4329.
We have a motion that we accept policy 4329 and the changes thereof. Do I have a second? We have a second by Mr. Hoke. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of policy 4329/7311 and the changes presented thereof for bullying, harassing behavior prohibited, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? None. So 6-0. Thank you very much, Dr. Savage. All right. So next we have something I've been working on for a while. It's the announcement of the legislative committee, and I passed out to board members at the beginning of the meeting some stuff on that I had, so just give me a second here. Let me get this one. Is that yours? Okay, this is mine. I don't want to take yours. Okay. So pursuant to Board Policy 2230, what I'm going to do is ask that the board approve an ad hoc committee formed. We're going to call it the ISS Legislative Committee. And as chair, one of the duties of the chair is to appoint committee members and chairpersons. Also, do know that the chairperson is an ex officio member of all committees. So what I'm asking is that Rhonda Hoke and Kevin Angel will be considered the members of the legislative committee. I've talked to each one of them before I did this. This is not brand new on them, and they're okay with this. And the reason for choosing these two members is both of these board members have a long history with both local and state level elected officials. And part of the legislative committee is they need to be able to interface with these legislative bodies and legislative and elected individuals. Regarding issues, policy, funding, and procedures germane to both Iredell County and children and their well-being. Mr. Hoke was born and raised in Iredell County, as he likes to tell me often. And he's been involved in the political process in his county and county government for many years. He has and still serves on various boards and knows how to get things done in the process it takes, in my opinion, for Iredell County. Mr. Angel has and still serves on various boards in the county. He's worked tirelessly with leaders at the state and local levels with his work at the Children's Hope Alliance. Make sure I get that correct. Children's Home. I'm sorry. Okay, my apologies there. To advance child welfare for those that have little in Iredell County. The reporting for these that I'm asking, they report quarterly to the board. and we would reevaluate the committee after 1 year. The overall goal that I have for this committee is that this is something we haven't done a lot of, and I think we need to do a better job at, is to interface regularly with local and state elected officials, advancing matters of importance to ISS under the purview of those said officials. So we can talk about things, but if they don't have, it's not under something they can do about, then it doesn't really matter. So the goal is to, one, just talk. We got to get a relationship formed, I think, in good relationships before we can talk about things that maybe they can help us out. Maybe we can help, that you got to make that relationship. Now, specific goals that are of importance to Iredell-Statesville schools, and I'm going to let them have the ability, if they wish, to, change the order. This in no ways is this a rank order that of the 4 things I'm going to discuss, but it's something we've talked a lot about at the the end-of-year review. Also, these came up. So the 4 things initially I want them to look at and discuss are the funding for high-impact tutoring and other specific educational needs. We've seen the effects of high-impact tutoring, and unfortunately, as the ESSER's money went away, a lot of it's gone. But we saw the quality and how much that can, especially in math. Math is something near and dear to my heart, math education, but it's hard now to teach since when I taught at West Caldwell back in the late 80s, early 90s, everyone there either had a math degree, and I was able to teach math, and I had a physics degree. Now, I think at one of the high schools, I think one teacher there has a degree in math. The other ones are certified in math or getting certified in math, and they can teach it, but having someone with a math degree and years of experience teaching it helps. It helps out a lot, and that's just common sense looking at that. And there's data, of course, to back that up. But funding and high-impact tutoring, and I saw that specifically at when I was teaching. I taught at Salisbury High one semester, and the impact of high-impact tutoring on students that didn't have a very good math background, it makes a difference, and I saw it make a difference there. Dr. Eagle was the principal there. I don't know if you know of him, Dr. James, but Warren Eagle. He was a good guy, and he had high expectations of those students. And specific ways to increase and attract and retain and continue the employment of, after retirement, of quality teachers. Keeping good teachers is huge. Getting them into our system, keeping them, making them better, giving them chances to get better, helping them train others, and then as they get closer to retirement and retire, maybe they want to come back and teach. And making it easier for them to do that, and making them a bigger carrot incentive for them to come back, because there's not a big incentive, honestly, as it should be, in my opinion, from the state level. Communicating regularly, I'm having trouble with that one, Dr. Savage, regarding capital projects now and in the future, and a better, more comprehensive, and I would actually use the term enlightened rating system for our school, is how we grade our school system. So those are the 4. I've got these from just general discussion we've had. Also, I handed out to each board member. I sent an email out a couple weeks ago after we had our year-end review, and I asked for their thoughts on a legislative initiative and for that we could go after and look for actually reachable, attainable goals. And that's what I was wanting to get, was attainable goals. And I've got response from about half. I took the names off so the committee members won't know who is. You can ask, I don't care. But I just didn't want anyone to have any bias for or against any of these. But I've got these. It's there for them. The 4 things I mentioned, to some extent, paralleled with many of the thoughts I had here. But, and then we can go from there. And, I mean, it's a lot of good ideas, from a lot of good ideas. So I'm going to ask for them to work on that. And that is what I initially have on this. Now, this is, according to policy, I think 2230, it has to be approved by the board. So I will ask for a vote if the board so decides. But for now, I'll take any questions for this from any of the board members that wish to be recognized. Ms. Kern? Go ahead.
Yeah, what will they be doing? Will they be going to Raleigh? Will they just be going to local community? Is it established schedule? Do we have meetings that are of where they're going to come together?
Well, they'll have to have meetings. They'll have to go by the open meetings law. So when they'll have meetings, I've actually talked a little bit about it. I'm new at this. I don't want initially to tell them exactly how to run their business. I believe those, give people a goal and let them figure out there's an old saying from one of my favorite movies that says, go do the voodoo that you do so well. And I'll let them figure out the voodoo of how to make this accomplished. But they do have goals and expectations. And I think both of these men, with their connections they have and their history and their experience, I don't want to tell them exactly how to do their job. I'll let them. Now, it comes back, they don't do anything. That's completely different. We'll have to make some changes. But I don't expect to see that happening here, in my opinion anyway. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I was just thinking, like when we're on different committees
Right.
for such as, facilities and planning or, preparing for a high school or elementary school, there's some kind of minutes or something that's drawn up to say that this is what we discussed.
They will have to do open meetings law. Kelly, unfortunately, you got added onto this because you have to be at those meetings. Go
Chairman,
ahead,
I can
sir.
answer to that one.
Okay.
Yes, so in a different county, of course, Kelly only can work so many hours a week, so myself or someone will be at that meeting with the recorder, record it, and then, yes, we'll take that recording, put it into notes, and then share it out with the board. Yes. So you will be made apprised of anything they talked about or any decisions they're going to bring forth to the board. Because it is considered a meeting.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Kubik?
So we'll have now 3 ad hoc committees, right? This one, the legislative, was it new school and,
Yeah, for Parkertown.
right, and facilities, right?
And as far as I know, yes, sir.
And so, can we have committee reports as needed at the meetings? Because that's kind of a standing thing that we haven't been doing.
Yeah, I have no issue with that.
Okay, because I'm just saying,
Sure.
those who are not on the committee, you're kind of not in the know of what's going on.
And that's one of the things, actually, with the, what's next on the agenda from Mr. Shinkurik came out of that.
Right.
And to some extent, they're presenting about the talk on that.
So as I look through the handout you provided, board members have provided some real excellent information.
Yes, sir.
And, you'll recall 15 months ago, a board member recommended a legislative committee, and another member found that it was bureaucracy and gums up the works.
Well,
I'm glad that we've finally come around to a legislative committee.
I don't like looking backwards, so I'll say nothing about that. I will look forward, sir.
I'd like to look forward too, and I think we have the needs to leverage the talents of the people on this board, working with the superintendent's staff to do a lot of good things, like building these relationships.
And I think, while it may seem a little ironic that Mr. Hoke and Mr. Angel are the 2 newest members of the board, they both have extensive experience working with elected officials. And I think that is the experience and the wisdom I want to leverage for these 2 on that committee.
And everyone should be supporting that.
All right, thank you. Any other questions, comments, anyone?
Chairman, before you vote, I just want to make sure that we're all clear on the 3 committees, legislative, facilities and planning, and then, for the better name, unless someone wants to throw one out, construction.
Yeah, I think those 2, the last 2 were already here when I came on as chair.
Yeah, facilities and planning, so, is the overall, there's projects already out there, and we'll be reporting out where we're at on all those for both this board and the commissioners have asked for it. And then construction, we all know that with the growth, that's going to be an ongoing committee.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Angel, you wanted to comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to, thank the chairman for the vote of confidence and just reassure my members here on the board, very much the things you've asked clarifications on around public meetings, reports. Ultimately, our duty is to communicate clearly with those elected officials, but then bring that back to the board for decisions and understanding. It will take an integrated and multifaceted approach. And I think it starts with those communication loops that we'll establish, and that goes between us and then outside of this board. And so all the formalities that you would expect with a professional committee that reports to the board is my commitment to you all as colleagues. Rhonda and I have talked some, but we'll come back with clarity on what our process will be in terms of the days we meet. You know, we've talked already some about bolting it on to the days we already have meetings. So, you know, if you're here, you're kind of happening at the same time. And then similar to we were talking about meetings earlier, if there's nothing to report, there's nothing to report. There's something to report, there is. Having that both verbally and then in writing. So it'll create, hopefully, elevated transparency, and then we can discuss the frequency, intensity, and duration of that communication as we have areas of focus that need the attention of the committee. So, thank you.
Mr. Hope, do you want to
Chairman,
make any
one more
comment? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Kubnik, go ahead.
question.
Yes, sir.
So I think since the last 2 years, we've had the construction committee and the facilities planning committee are really functioning more as standing committees, which our policy doesn't state that. It says we have no standing committees. So maybe we need to update our policy to establish these as formal standing committees with roles and responsibilities, duties, and so on.
We can look into that. I can discuss that with the
Because
superintendent.
I was
We can
looking
look
at
into
that
that.
same policy
Yes, sir.
you referenced, and they've essentially been standing committees.
Yeah,
That's my
So,
suggestion.
Chairman, I will work with the attorney to correct that policy and have it for first read next meeting.
well, ask and you shall receive. Mr. Hope, you want to make a comment? You want to get the?
I'd like to reiterate what Kevin said there in reference to appreciate the appointment to the committee. Also, in previous times, I mean, a lot of people on this board know, and I know Dr. James knows, there's been a lot of, maybe I want to call animosity between our board and the county commissioners and maybe some state legislators. But I think it's time we all come to the same table and we talk, we discuss it, and we say, you know, we come to a conclusion, and we know there's money out there, and there's money going other places that needs to come to Iredell County. So that's what we need to do. We need to do our due diligence and get out here and make everything work together. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments, questions? Do I have a motion
I make a motion
to?
to approve the ISS Legislative Committee with Mr. Hoke and Mr. Angel as the members of that committee.
Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
We have a second from Ms. Kern. Any discussion for or against the motion to approve to form a ISS Legislative Committee per the handout with Mr. Hoke and Mr. Angel on it?
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, sir.
And that's designated as an ad hoc committee?
Yes, sir, ad
and
hoc
after,
committee.
what, 12 months? We'll
Yeah, 12 months. That's why I think it says on here, report active activity quarterly to the board, reevaluate after 1 year.
Right, okay, good.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of forming the ISS Legislative Committee per the handout with Mr. Hoke and Mr. Angel on it, say aye. Aye. All opposed? We have none. Hearing none, it is 6-0. So thank you, board members, for that approval of that motion. Next, we have approval of Parkertown Elementary CMAR by Mr. Shinkurik.
Okay, I'm here to present to approval for the Parkertown Elementary Construction Manager at Risk. To try to give you a little bit of kind of how we got to where we are. Back in November, the Board of Ed selected the design firm and their proposal for this Parkertown project. The county then approved it as well, and they've indicated to us that they're going to provide us $40 million in all-in budget for this project. As you know, we have, and we heard about that today, experiencing some significant overcrowding at some of our schools. Troutman Elementary is operating at about 120% over capacity, and Shepherd Elementary is 117% capacity. And so we created a selection committee that had some district staff representation, as well as Mr. Hoke and Ms. Kearns, and went through a CMAR process there to select the CMAR. We had 9 firms that indicated that they would, that submitted an application. We whittled those firms down to 5 construction companies, and we hosted interviews for that project last week. And through those interviews, JM Cope Construction was identified as the preferred choice. The committee then conducted some reference checks on projects that have been conducted here locally in the area, both current and past projects that JM Cope has completed, and all of those reference checks came back very positive. So based on this process and the reference feedback, the selection committee recommends JM Cope Construction as the construction manager at risk for Parkertown Elementary School and seeks your approval for this selection.
Thank you, Mr. Shinkurik. Do you, I guess I could ask Ms. Kern and Mr. Hoke, do you want to make any comments regarding the selection committee, or the selection of JM Cope? Go ahead.
During the interviews, I think myself and Ms. Kern also, we had a different company picked to start with, and then after all the interviews and some of the stuff that they presented, that was, I think, more of a, they were more of a project to us than a number. That's how I felt on it. You know, they were a bigger company and everything as far as the first one, but it was kind of strange. We were sitting beside of each other and not even having discussion, but at the end of the day, we were both on the same page. So I feel really good about that company, and they're probably the closest company to us as far as geographic area too, because they're from Hickory.
Yeah, and actually, Chad Webb, one of their vice presidents, is here in attendance too, if you had any questions as well.
Ms. Kern, you want to make any comments?
Well, I just want to thank everyone, all the companies who put in a bid. I hope that they come back and rebid for future jobs. They were all excellent companies. I don't think we could have gone wrong either way, but I do appreciate the JM Cope team for their presentations and their transparency and their heart that they revealed up there. They really showed that they care and that they want to do a good job for the Parkertown community.
Okay, so any questions by board members for Mr. Shinkurik?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
So why was it not a committee's job to bring to the board, say, the top 2 or 3 choices, just like you bring us when we're bidding for a parking lot or a roof or what have you? So why wasn't that done here? I feel like we, the board here, don't know what our options were. We don't really know what the decision-making information was. And so and that's why I mentioned before about the lack of committee reports on a monthly basis or what have you, that we don't really know what's going on with the construction committee. So that's first question I really have is why weren't we provided the options? We're given one option to vote on.
Dr. James, you want to speak on that regarding just past? Okay. Unit meeting, okay. Mr. Shinkurik?
I would say this is a very similar process that we've done on other selection committees. We selected ADW as the architect for this project, and Ms. Kearns, I believe, was on that committee as well. And similar process, a committee was formed. And I did remiss that one of the members on the board, on the committee, was a community member as well. So we tried to have a well-rounded group there to select it, including board members on there. Like I said, it was a process that we've done for other selections that we've done in the past.
Mr. Shinkurik, so this committee selected the architect, but this board selected the architect for Weathers Creek High School. So I don't understand why a committee was allowed to select an architect for this school, but the board selected it for the high school. So that's really my complaint, is lack of transparency to this board from this committee.
Actually, the architect was presented.
Yes.
The one we chose. The board voted on it, but they weren't involved in the actual talking to all the architects. Now, what we did do, and we can, it's not a problem. So what we done with the architect, because of the size of the high school, we put everything out on the table in here and told board members or anyone else that wanted to look at the bids, they could come in and look at them. So we can and probably should provide the board at least the top three. The only caveat is state law tells us who we have to choose. It has to be the low price bidder. In this case, since it's CMR, there's a little wiggle room there. But we have to go with one that can come in close to what we're looking for. If it's a hard number, if we go with anything else besides the lowest bid, we have to give reasoning for that. So then even if you approve it tonight, it will go to LGC for approval.
Mr. Chairman,
For
so.
CMAR, it's based on qualifications. So Mr. Shinkarik has brought the construction manager at risk with the best qualifications for the particular job.
Which takes the place of price. So this committee had about 6 or 8 people that had a rubric that looked through and sifted out the top. And again, we could provide the top 2 or 3. That's not an issue moving forward. If that's what the board as a whole decides, then we'll provide that. But there will be one recommendation from the committee on which one they want. So, and I think that goes back to the issue with committees. You sort of have to, you should be advised. You have to sort of trust their judgment. They went through a process that they felt the rest of the board would support.
Mr. Kubik, go
I
ahead.
understand there, Mr. Superintendent, but I don't know what the dollar value is associated with this potential motion, because we have no documentation that has a dollar value. And then secondly, we were given 60-plus pages of documentation on Friday afternoon, and frankly, I haven't had the opportunity to study it as much as I would like. And so, in my opinion, this should be postponed to March, because I haven't had a chance to really study this and ask questions like we're talking about right now.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Ashley, our attorney. They still have to come back with a price that you have to agree to.
That's right.
So you're going to choose this company, they're going to go flesh everything out, then there's going to be a price they come back to the board with, and they're probably going to give us several options, because the commissioners have already give us a number, and we're going to tell them what we can do for that number. Then we may give them 2 more numbers that say, if you want 1,000 pupil school, here's what it's going to be. If you want 800, so you as a board vote before it moves forward. So they're choosing a company to actually give you. They chose this company based on qualifications. They felt like they could give us a better number than, not that the other ones couldn't, but they felt through the rubric process. And again, if you look at state law, all this is really governed by law. So we take that rubric, but I'm fully agreeing with you that, yes, we could provide you more information. Absolutely.
I guess the only issue I would have, and I understand the quickness of the information given us, what does it do to the timeline if we postpone this a month?
Well, we're certainly up against the timeline with it. The reason that I didn't give the information until late in the week was we conducted the interviews and reference checks last week. If we were to delay the project, I mean, our goal is to have the school open on August of 2027. So after, and I will clarify, the selection committee did not select a construction company. We are recommending, that's probably a better stated. But if we were delaying schematic design, design development, construction planning, then it's a 16-month approximate construction timeline to complete the project. So delaying the project has the potential of disrupting a pretty tight timeline that we have already. But that's not my decision.
And before I just real quickly, Ms. Curran, let me comment there. I know one of the concerns we've had from people, other elected officials, is speed at which we do projects. And so expediting things is one of the things on my agenda, but the problem is, you learn a lot in construction. If you speed it up, you can lose possibly quality and other things. You can't have all three parts of that triangle. But with the committee, what I've read about committees and Robert's rules is that to some extent, you are trusting them and you base your vote on that. And that's what you were talking about, Dr. James, kind of the pitfalls of a committee, that the whole board doesn't get all the full information of it, Mr. Kubik, and that's why I just want to address that. But Ms. Kern had a comment. I want to let her, if that's okay. Go ahead, quickly.
So, Mr. Shankarik, how much of this information that we received on Friday could have been presented to us last Monday?
I would say some of it we didn't get till later when they actually did the interview process. But I could have provided half of their application to you prior to that. I could have also provided all of the applications for all of the construction companies as well.
Right.
You know, in hindsight.
Because you wouldn't have known who to give.
Yes, but you know, I would respond by saying that it was my assumption that the committee that was doing that process would be responsible for vetting and doing those with the idea of trusting and trying to have board representation on that committee to make that selection. I felt like we had done our due diligence with having a group that represented that community.
Okay. Ms. Kern, go ahead.
I just wanted to explain the process so that a few people understood what we did. First of all, there was a rubric that we used that really didn't have our personal opinions in it. It was a submission of a series of questions, and you gave a scoring based on whether or not they could or could not do what that particular rubric explanation could do. So it really was not any opinion. And then when you whittled down those 5, then they came and presented. And this is where you actually were able to engage with each of the construction companies and ask them the different things that you were passionate about. And for example, Mr. John Ribbick was on there. He might have some different questions based on the fact that he is in the building teaching. He has a series of questions that he's passionate about and a focus that he's on. Myself, having worked for a builder, I have a series of questions that I might be passionate about. Rhonda, having experience with people in the community and different pieces of land here in Iredell County and his connection he had a focus that he was passionate about. And then, of course, Mr. Shinkurikan and his staff who is looking out for the school system in their jobs have a focus. And we came together, including our community member who has children in the school system. We came together and we had different views and different passions and different concerns. We all asked them a series of questions, and then we met after, and we collaborated based on those things, and we came up with the one that answered all of those to the best of their ability. And I believe that J.M. Cope was able to satisfy each particular passion and focus on who was on that board. When you ask about how much it cost, they were given, hey, this is what the county commissioners have given us. Can you build it in the amount of time to open up the school for when we need to have it opened and at the amount that we have? And they had to come up with whether they could do it and how they were going to do it. And that's the things that we determined on who we chose. After this, though, we're going to go down to details where they're going to present different phases of that project. And then that's where they're going to break down and dollar values are going to be actually formulated. And then that will be presented to the board on what they're going to be spending in each phase, and there'll be more of a concrete dollar value that you're going to see of why they're spending what they're spending and what they're spending it on, and that will be needed to be approved by the board, correct, Mr.
Yes,
Shakira, at
after
each of
design
those
development,
phases?
They'll provide us a guaranteed maximum price,
Yes,
and we'll be able to bring that back to the board at that time.
thank you, yes.
Any other comments of anyone else want to speak on this?
Chairman, just one final comment.
Okay, yeah, but let me go through and get everybody.
Yes, sir.
And that way, then I'll come around at the very end, then I'll get you out, because we got to get everybody to speak first. Anyone else? Mr. Angel, anyone else? I was going to make the motion. Okay, so, Mr. Kubinick, yes.
Just to be clear, I'm not calling into question anyone's due diligence in the work that you've done on this committee. And that's what committee work is. It's staff work, and you come back to the board providing options. That's how I view it, options, and that's plural, not just option. And so that's just my take on it. I would have just appreciated more than one option, and we've got to think going in the future, when we only have one meeting in a month, or like in this situation, we've got to do our staff work to anticipate questions like this coming up so that we don't put ourselves in a hole or a bind, right? So.
Okay, anyone else want to make a second comment? Okay, do I have a motion?
I motion that we accept the approval for this selection for Parkertown Elementary with, as outlined by Mr. Shinkirik.
Okay, so we have a motion to accept the Parkertown Elementary with J.M. Cope as the CMAR construction manager at risk per the discussion, per the information from Mr. Shinkirik. Do I have a second? Second. Okay, we have second. Rhonda has a second on that. Any discussion per the motion? Anyone discussion per the motion? As I hear no discussion per the motion, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving J.M. Cope as the construction manager at risk for the Parkertown Elementary School per the information provided by Mr. Shinkirik, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
We have one nay, so it's 5-1. And I have been asked by a couple board members that we do a quick 5-minute recess. And then I apologize to public comments, but it's been an ask. So we'll quickly I'll just recess out for 5 minutes, and then I won't even gavel. It's just quick recess, and we'll come back. This meeting going? Is my mic on? It's on now. Testing. There it is. It's on. Okay, all right. I want to apologize to the public, especially the ones making comments, but we had some requests for the 5-minute recess, and I tried to keep it at 5 minutes. So, next on the agenda is public comment. Public comment time is a time for members of the public to share their viewpoints with the board. All speakers will stay if they're a resident of Iredell County, and if they're a parent or guardian of a student in the school system. The board does not respond to individuals who address the board except to provide or request clarifications, and from my perspective as board chair, I think that should be rare. I want to respect each member coming up, each member of the public coming up, and treat them all the same. If there are a large number of speakers, the board may require the designation of a spokesperson for each group or person supporting or opposing the same positions. Complaints involving individual personnel or student matters are generally confidential and are not appropriate for a public comment session and should be reported to the superintendent. If it seems like it's involving individual personnel or student matters, I'll ask you to speak to the superintendent about that. So where am I at? So disruptions by any person or person of a public meeting was subject to action according to General Statute 143-318-17. We have 6 speakers signed up, and so each speaker will get their full 3 minutes. Maximum time for public comment is 30 minutes, so 6 times 3 is 18. So our first is someone I think I know just a little bit, Mr. Bill Howe.
Bill Howe. I am a resident of Iredell County. I have a granddaughter at Cloverleaf and a grandson at North Iredell High School. Mr. Chairman, board members, Dr. James, thank you for letting me speak tonight. I wanted to say congratulations to you new board members. Thank you for having the courage to raise your hand and said, yes, I'll serve. A lot of people will criticize, but they'll never serve. And so thank you for being willing to do that. That's always important. Congratulations to you, Mr. Chairman, for being elected, and Madam Vice Chairman, congratulations. It's not as easy as you thought it was.
No.
Anyway, school calendars. I tried to get you all to do the next one, but they made me take a vote. And what would have happened if the previous board had said, oh, we're going to go on the regular schedule, and we would have just gotten through and started second semester? And that would have really hurt our students. So, when it comes your turn, now you have one board member, and I respect it, that says, I can't put my hand on the Bible and swear to uphold the Constitution and the laws of the state of North Carolina and vote to do this. But I always felt like, what benefits the student? And in each of you in your separate districts, please understand that there are many opinions. You have different groups that come to you and will speak about their own personal agendas. But weigh that out and understand there's more people in your districts than just that little group. I went and had to sit there and listen to some of the comments, and I'm going to make a quick one right now. A lady came up here and said, Benjamin Franklin was the first person to promote education. I said, really? And I'm thinking to myself, Socrates, Plato, the Apostle Paul, Jesus Christ, I could go on. And I said to myself, you ought to read about old Ben Franklin, particularly when he was in France, politicking for the colonies to get France to help us shoot the British. But don't let the children read that book. He was quite a playboy. And that's why I don't like committees, Mr. Kubinik, because you have to trust them.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Howe. Next, we have Marvelous Outland. I think that's correct.
Mr. Chairman, the board, my name is Marvelous Outland, and I'm a resident of Iredell County. I have two children. One of my sons is a United States Marine. He's stationed in Quantico, Virginia. And my other son is an 11-year-old that is in one of the failing schools. But Virgil is not a failure. Virgil is an honor roll student, both times, 2 quarters. My question, we know that we have 13 low-performing schools in Iredell County. If 6 of these schools are in regular socioeconomic areas, then economy is not the factor. Employing teachers that are certified can certainly be a factor to help these children do better in these failing schools. Absentees is a factor too in low-performing schools. What can be done to encourage students to have a perfect attendance in school? Can it be like, the teachers giving them an award for perfect attendance? Would that help them? Or encourage them in some form or fashion? From 2020 to 2024, Iredell schools went from 5 low-performing schools to 13 now in 2024. At the same time, Johnson County schools went from 14 low-performing schools to 1. Can we just look at Johnson County schools and do something that they're doing to help some of these schools? My son is in Trupman Middle. Trupman Middle is part of one of these 13 failing schools. But like you see, he's doing so well. Why don't we get the most teachers that have a lot of experience to teach or to focus on the low students, the students that are failing? And then, the teachers that are not certified to spend time on people like Virgil that is high, honor roll students. We need to do something to turn around the ship that these schools shouldn't be failing. We're going in the wrong direction. That's why I'm here today, because I got skin in the game. My son is in one of those schools. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, we have Andrea Smith.
Good evening, Dr. Knight, members of the board, and Dr. James. I'm Andrea Smith, a resident of Iredell County, and I have a grandson in the district. First, I'd like to thank Dr. James for sending the letter to parents and guardians regarding the commitment to the well-being and safety of all students. As you stated, protecting the privacy and safety of every student, regardless of immigration status, is paramount to a student's ability to learn. As a former special education teacher, I know firsthand how feeling unsafe for any reason impacts the student's receptiveness to learning. Whether that is a fear of being taken away, fear of parents disappearing, fear of bullying, fear of not being treated kindly, regardless of race, gender, looks, or disability, it will impact their education. With the flurry of orders coming from Washington regarding education, I am sure it is daunting for you. If the Department of Education is dismantled, what will become of the nearly $4 million for our district's Title I funding? What will become of any funding connected to IDEA? My hope for all students is that whatever changes are coming, our students will receive appropriate support and be free to learn thorough and truthful information about our country, our history, world affairs, science, and more, so they can become independent, critical thinkers and citizens who contribute to the greater good of their families, communities, country, and the world. We are all in this together. Thank you so much for caring about all of the students.
Thank you very much, Ms. Smith. Next, we have Cheryl Pletcher.
Good evening, I'm Cheryl Pletcher. I live in the school district. I have 7 grandchildren. None of them are in this district. I speak tonight about the recent disclosure of the number of schools that are not meeting basic expectations of reading and math in our school district. 36 schools with 13 not meeting basic average expectations. Some of these schools have been below basic expectation for 10 years. That information was surprising, if not shocking. I'm believing that attempts to reverse the decline have been tried over the past 10 years. I can't believe that failing schools are just assumed to be part of education. Has anything been successful in helping low-performing schools turn around? 20-some schools are meeting expectations. What are the keys? I know the issue is complex. I know that this is a nationwide issue. The kindergartners during COVID are now 4th graders. The 4th graders during COVID are now the 8th graders. The next testing may show even more decline. We need really to get work on this educational crisis here in Iredell County. Some school districts have made changes to turn their schools around for the better. I would like for us to rise to the occasion and do better. How can we as a community add value to what the school is doing to respond to this crisis? I personally review the agenda before almost every meeting. I open the documents to be prepared for the meeting. To my surprise, this important issue was not even on the agenda for this public meeting. What might the school board, our elected representatives, have for a strategy in response to this crisis? What strategies can be planned? What about the 50% absentee rate at some schools? Maybe it's about the curriculum, I don't know. There was a disaster in Western North Carolina. The government turned out not to be the answer we thought it would be. The community came together to work on helping to find a solution for the crisis. I'm suggesting that the community be given an option to be part of the solution. Right now, my main concern is the leadership role our elected officials are taking. It seems to me that the topic should be on every agenda until we see improvements. To this school board, we expect leadership to be shown by our elected officials. We heard your campaigns, you're educated, and we believe that you sincerely care about our children and their educational success. We expect this educational issue to be a discussion topic on the agenda for the rest of the school year. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pletcher. Next, we have Sean McGowan.
Good evening, members of the board. I'm an Iredell County resident for over 4 years. I don't have any school-aged children or grandchildren yet, but both children attended and graduated from public schools, including Cabarrus County and UNC Charlotte, and I am, myself, a former North Carolina Title I teacher. I wanted to talk to you tonight about achievement, aptitude, success, and recognition. We all want this for ourselves and for our county. Are the processes we adopt and the way we speak to one another encouraging or belittling these goals? Many in this room tonight have strong opinions on whether this board should bring back board member comments. They claim greater openness and transparency, that the practice will not result in cheap political points taken out of context, but that we, the people of Iredell, have elected the members of the board to be our voice. And so I would request that you faithfully consider what each of us has to say. Public comment itself can be repetitive and ineffective. The way the agenda is presented and implemented could lead to a reactionary response that helps no one. Is everyone in the public heard? Is it too late to influence or weigh in? The same could be said of late in the agenda member comments, but the board and community could still benefit. This board deferred to the U.S. Department of Education when Title IX was under review. Although not all in the public agreed, that action was at least understandable. We now live in a world where there may not be a federal department to defer to anymore. It will be more important that we understand what citizens and what parents think. That feedback may only make its way to a public meeting through an individual board member. We've also heard comments about which study is best, which ranking should we highlight. Sure, it's natural for us to promote the ones that elevate the reports where we are improving and excelling, and negate or discount the reports that show us to be failing or needing improvement. But isn't that the heart of school administration? We want to take reasonable criticism and achieve synthesis. We must at least consider and investigate all feedback. Don't we want a board willing to question authority, to stand up for kids in scary times, such as when threatened by an unknown pandemic, a superstorm, or political unrest, to do what's right and what's best for our staff, our kids, and our community? Instead of waiting for the right study or the right authority to figure it out for us, then we must engage, listen to minority opinions, research, discuss. Open debate promotes healthy systems. Please do not lose sight of that and how this system may benefit by greater transparency and accountability. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. McGowan. Last on the agenda, we have Paula Mimnaugh.
Hello, I'm going to apologize in advance. I'll do my best. My printer would not print out my speech. It's not easy to read off of this, but I'm going to do my best. I'm Paula Mimnaugh. I live in Iredell County. According to the report card for North Carolina, over 1/3 of our schools are labeled D or F in academic performance. In other words, 13 out of 36 schools are failing. We applaud other schools that are succeeding, but any failures should be addressed in well-functioning school system. Recently, the failures were blamed on the economic background of the students. 6 out of 13 low-performing schools are not from low economic backgrounds. There are some schools from low economic backgrounds that are performing well. Therefore, economic background is not the issue. Low-performing schools that are not in low economic backgrounds are Troutman Middle, West Iredell Middle, North Iredell Middle, West Iredell High, Katz, Lakeshore Middle, and ISS Virtual Academy. What can be done to help students in these schools? The main function of schools should be the pursuit of excellence in academic performance, and nothing should come against this goal. From 2020 to 2024, Iredell County schools went from 5 low-performing in 2020 to 13 low-performing in 24. And at the same time, of course, Johnston County schools went from 14 low-performing in 2020 to 1 in 2024. What did Johnston County do differently than Iredell County? Johnston County put their best, the most experienced teachers in with the low-performing students, and their least experienced teachers with the higher-performing students. What could be done in Iredell County to help more children succeed? The low teacher salary in Iredell County seems to have a definite effect on hiring of competent teachers. And the NCDPI states that schools that are low performing need to have at least 50% of certified teachers. Low performing schools need all teachers to be certified. All schools should have all teachers certified. Much effort should be made to put only certified teachers in low performing schools first. However, what can be done now in this situation we have to remedy this situation? Could a strong certified teacher mentor an uncertified teacher? Could principals of failing schools set goals for students and teachers to improve student academic improvement? According to the North Carolina report card, absenteeism definitely has an effect on student performance in North Carolina. Now, no teacher can facilitate learning when the students are not in school. What could be done to incentivize regular school attendance? What about rewarding children every week for perfect attendance? That's just one idea. Discipline is very important. Teachers who are not certified may need assistance with classroom management techniques. I can tell you I experienced that as a long-term sub. The teacher that took my place did not understand classroom management. Okay, so what is being done to support uncertified teachers with respect
Ms.
to classroom management?
Ms. Mimnaugh, your time is up.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
That's all we have for board member comments for this meeting. And so we'll continue on to the next part of the agenda. Next part of the agenda is superintendent comments. Dr. Jeff James.
Thank you, Dr. Knight. So I would like to congratulate Lake Norman High School girls basketball. They won the 4A state championship. Hopefully they'll be on the radio show at some point in the near future to discuss their strategies for a win. Lake Norman boys basketball actually lost to North Meck. So their goal is to be state champions next season. Did want to tell the public, this is all donated money, STEM trailer. So we have a fifth wheel trailer that's been donated by industry, and some of the industries are actually going to put equipment in the trailer. So those that aren't putting equipment in are providing monetary support in our career technical education budget. So we will equip a trailer paid for by industry throughout the county. And the next thing we're working on is actually the truck to pull the trailer, and we're about halfway there of getting enough money to purchase the truck. So thanks to our industry. The other one, we have a unified PTO. Some of the conversation tonight. Unified PTO because we struggle in the inner city schools to actually get a PTO at each school, which we all know is important. So we put together a unified PTO probably 6 or 8 months ago, and this organization is working to ensure that our inner city schools have voice and have, support from the community. And I'm glad to say that this group of people is actually writing grants. So I recently attended First Presbyterian Church in Statesville, and what they do each year, a lot of our churches put back into the community, but what First Presbyterian does is they solicit grants from the community, and they felt like the grant wrote by the Unified PTO was one of the best grants that was submitted, so they chose to fund the $10,000 to the Unified PTO. So I received a check from them Sunday week ago in their service, so we're appreciative of First Presbyterian. There's 370 churches in Iredell County, so not that I would want competition, but we will be glad to come to any church that wants to give us a $10,000 check. So moving on, that was a joke. So South won a Samsung. There was a challenge from Samsung. I really think any money's better than none. It was around $12,000, I believe. So we actually had students at South create an app. It's called AI for the eye. So it's a pair of glasses that actually helps visually impaired people to navigate things that are going on the internet and through virtual reality. I will say that some of the board has experienced some of the virtual reality and 3D models that we have. We actually just purchased a 3D table. It does veterinarian animals, cow, horse, also does humans. So you can actually pull the heart up and sort of dissect it like Minority Report, if you saw that movie. It's really neat. So we do a climate survey for our customers, which I appreciate the fact that we all do pay taxes, but the main person that we hopefully are concerned about is our customers, which are our parents. Our elementary schools, 90% of the respondents gave us an A or B, 98% gave us an A, B, or C, 80% an A and B for secondary, 90% for A, B, gave us an A, B, or C. So I would like, Dr. Knight, I don't like misinformation out there, so we didn't go from 5 low-performing schools to 13. We had 12 in 2023, 13 in 23-24. When we come out of COVID in 2021, we were the #1 school system in the state for growth. And for those of us who actually are knowledgeable in growth, we could probably take a month to try to explain the formula. So think about this. A baseball player has got an RBI of 350. Well, if I hit 400 this year, then anyone looking to hire me or anyone wanting me on their team wants me to be at 400, not at 350. So you don't go backwards. I now have a new bar set, so that's EVOS. So when you raise the bar, that bar becomes your base. So we had the highest bar in the state. So for us to maintain growth was almost impossible. Now, we could have chose not to do what's best for kids and stayed at home the rest of the year, like most districts did. So Johnson County's mentioned, and I hate to say anything about them because I'm colleagues with these people, but Johnson County will tell you they were number 115 out of 115 systems on growth in 2021. So guess where their bar was? Down here. It's a whole lot harder or a lot easier to start down at the bottom and come up than it is to be up here and go up. And that's just common sense. But again, we have continuously had 12 to 13 quote-unquote low-performing schools. So let's talk about the issues. We've created them as a district. We're one of the few districts in the state that has 8,000 choice students. So what does that mean? You can pretty well select as a parent if you have the wherewithal where you want your child to go. So if you look at our inner city schools, guess what? People are electing to leave our inner city schools for choice programs that have the wherewithal. Not everyone does. Not everyone has a car. There's a thing called poverty. So we're running some numbers. So another thing to tell you, if we really cared as a community about closing the gap, it's called pre-K. So when you start kids earlier that are behind, so we already have the data, and we'll be presenting it sometime in the future. But if you take MB Meals, we do all kind of testing on a regular basis. We have M-Class. We have running records. We know exactly every school in this district gets growth. Does it play the game EVOS does? No. But now if the board wants me to stand down, not do anything but go out on the playground for a year and bring our base all the way back down, then the next year or two we'll be at the top. It's a game. So I choose to educate the kids that in a district I grew up in. It's called about educating kids. It's not called playing games. So MB Mills, our lowest performing school, and has been from the day it was called MB Mills. It has never come out of low performing, and at the current formula, it never will. So you've got to exceed growth. If that school could exceed growth, it wouldn't be in low performing to start with. So the metrics in North Carolina, 80% is based on proficiency. And all the data in the world, all the data in Iredell County will show you where's your lowest proficiency, where poverty exists. And if you look at public housing, where it tends to be our highest poverty in this nation, that's exactly where you get almost 0 points for proficiency on the formula. So you're already starting out with a strike against you for the simple fact of where you live. So at MB Mills, our kids come in kindergarten, and we do baseline testing at 1%. 1. That's almost zero knowledge in kindergarten. You take that same group at Cottle Creek, where there's very little to no poverty, 30%. Folks, that's a 2.5 to 3 year gap. And as I said, this is a moving target. So why I'm trying to catch you up in kindergarten, and you're already on a 3-year-old level, I've also got to teach you the curriculum that's at hand, because I've got to accomplish those points before the end of the year, or you're going to be further behind. There is, unless Jesus Christ splits the sky back open, there is not a teacher that can close a 3-year gap for any child anywhere in this country. It will not happen. So let's just stop playing games. You want to know why we don't have certified teachers? They're tired of this. They're tired of listening to them be downtrodden and talked about they're low performing. Our kids aren't low performing. They do a very good job. Every school gets growth. So when we stop talking about what we're not doing, then we might actually have some people apply to our district that have a license. But right now it ain't happening, folks. 55% of our staff is in a position they are not qualified to be in. So it's just going to continue. If we want to help, then all we have to do for the inner city is put them in pre-K. You will get them a year's worth of learning in pre-K. So when they enter kindergarten, they'll at least have a shot of being on the scale. So again, we're one of 4 states, and the other states don't use to 80-20. And the bottom line is, what you have to ask yourself as a human being, why would you want people to look and see where your your impoverished people are, which typically are African American and Latino. So why would you want to tell everybody else where they live at? That's what you're doing with 80/20. So then you have to sit back and think, why point that out? Because we're not doing anything in our state to help it. All we want to do is keep bringing it up. And, you know, it's working for some people because I get calls all the time, folks, not sending my kid to that school. Plain and simple. So it's created white flight. Whether we want to believe it or not, we want to deal with it. That's the plain truth. So when we choose as a county to deal with the problem, it will improve. But right now, we have the system we asked for. 8,000 students are in choice. So they are electing those people who can to leave the impoverished schools and go where they choose. And it's plain, I have all the data, and I'm not sure where you got the data again on all these low-performing schools, and we don't have any school that has 50% attendance, I can assure you that. As a matter of fact, attendance is 94% as a district. So there's other metrics besides the, you know, for the lack of a better term, the current model that we have. It just points out where poverty's at and ethnicity. There is growth in every one of our schools. So ACT scores, which we're one of the highest in the state. SAT, we're one of the highest in the state. Graduation rate, which 15 years ago the nation would tell you is our biggest problem because there is a huge hit on GDP when you have people that aren't employable. So I think if we weren't putting out people that were employable, we wouldn't have the industry growth we have. You can't run a factory. Terry, you worked in the industry as I did. You can't run a factory without qualified people, can you? So it doesn't matter what your taxes are. If nobody's coming in that can understand basic English or math, you're not going to produce a product, folks. I was there 22 years. So we can fix the problem, but do we really want to? Well, evidently, since 2013 in North Carolina, all we want to do is point out where the impoverished people live and the people of diversity. And we've done a darn good job at it. Have we done anything to fix it? Flip, no. I'll be quiet before I say something I shouldn't. Thank you, Chairman.
So on that one, I will talk about announcements afterwards. We do have Valentine's Day coming up, and 10 to 14th this week is intercession days at MB Mills because they're on a year-round schedule. The 19th is early release day, professional development for traditional schools and MB Mills. On the 28th, the early colleges will have an early release day. And on March 3rd is our next meeting. That will be a committee of the whole meeting. We'll meet at 4 p.m. and the regular meeting will be at 6. And I have nothing else on the announcements. And I will ask for an adjournment motion.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Wasn't there only one meeting in March?
What I have here, is that correct? So that is not committee of the whole, sir? You are correct?
Thank you.
It says Board of Education meeting. I was incorrect. I made that assumption. Thank you. There's one meeting in March, so that will be a full meeting, and that will be a voting meeting, so.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we adjourn.
There's been a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? There is a second by Rhonda Hoke. All those in favor of adjournment say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it, 6-0. We are now adjourned.